Oh, look at this. Jakarta. Okay.
It's okay.
So just before you guys start, I do want to say for next week, I did update the invite with the new Zoom link. So please, everyone who is on the steering committee for the MicroProfile, you probably got the invitation for me to attend the meeting. Please note that I changed the Zoom invite.
I think you did it today,
Okay.
Tanya, right?
No, I didn't do it. So I changed it from the initial one. So if you made a copy in your calendar, you know, be aware that it has changed just 20 minutes ago or so. I changed the, the Zoom. Okay, perfect.
Okay, I'm going to
Tanya,
add this
sorry about
as
this.
an
Sorry about this.
item.
Let me finish this really quickly. Tanya, can you please send the follow-up directly in the Alliance email saying an date has been sent today? Please make sure to accept that again because it changed the link.
Sure.
That will reach everyone not here in this call.
But I'm like this. The invite is targeted only for the steering committee members.
But we're planning on we're planning on bringing the minutes to be public and.
Oh, that's fine. It's totally fine. So everyone who is on that invite is informed. I can also put it out on the mailing list if you prefer. It's just kind of like, you know, putting it out there.
Okay, so we do not use that for this meeting.
Yeah, we do not use that access for this meeting. It's
okay.
Eclipse is facilitating the call because I'm for some reason I need to follow up in that forum, but that is another story. Let's not use MicroProfile time. Tanya, thank you so much. Please follow in the forum saying that I changed the link and move on. Thank you so much for joining us to inform us. We appreciate you.
You've been a real trooper setting up that meeting.
Oh,
only
that meeting.
David
Okay.
and I know.
No, I got it. Sorry. I sorry. I didn't do the context, which I should have to understand that. Okay, I got it now. All right. So a few things I kind of wanted to chit chat on around releases. And Emily, I'm going to move this discussion around alignment down to kind of the, boy, for now, working group, I probably shouldn't do it there.
You can put
okay,
it in.
I'm gonna move things around here a little bit.
Okay.
I'm gonna move it here, and I'm gonna take this and move this down here. Not in any particular order. Okay. So
remove the bullet point after, to the first at the end of first page.
Oh, this one.
I move. Don't worry, I'll move it.
Yeah, if you could move that, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so Nathan was mentioning in the Google group about the context propagation release. I'm gonna fast forward it here. Do we know if Nathan is up to speed on the checklist and the process?
I have been working.
Because I couldn't gather it from this email.
So I have been working alongside with him. I pointed him to the wiki. So we have a release wiki. He's following that. He's following the release wiki and then goes through goes through all the process. He needs to.
Okay, yeah, I see it says new process.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just this sentence that threw me off a little bit. I just wanted to double check.
I see.
All right. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
I told him.
All right. So if all right. So we'll follow new process. The other thing I did is I sketched down some MicroProfile.next dates. I didn't assign a release number to that because we haven't come to any kind of decision if it's 5.0 or 4.1 or whatever. So what I did is I went to the calendar, took a look at the second, or sorry, actually it's the EMO basically reviews these things the first and third Wednesdays. So the first Wednesday is June 2nd. And so that's when we could start, the checklist, I believe. And someone correct me if I have these dates wrong. And then for a ballot to actually start the vote, it would be, I believe, June 3rd through the 16th. But of course, if everyone votes, we could end it early.
John,
So I based this on what was done for config, which may have been a special case, right? But sorry, go ahead, Amelia.
sorry to interrupt you. You just confirmed you used the previous times for this scheduling, and this is what we're going to add into the calendar and then submit to the forum. Is that correct? Or are you using?
Yeah, well, we don't have any. I don't think we have a release date in the calendar yet, right? I think all we have really is like is the steering committee, meetings and these meetings right now, and all the other component meetings. So I'll do this, and actually what I'll do first is I'll post it to the group, get feedback, because I just want to make sure, in the past I used to have to give like a week advance notice to the EMO, but I think I didn't list it here necessarily, but I'm going to try this, get feedback, and see how it goes. Okay. That's all I have on that. And then, Martin, you added release plans discussion from last week.
Yeah, before that,
Can you do a quick summary on that?
Can you also add, please, to the calendar, like potential freeze day for the specifications, including the ballot periods, so they can make it into platform release? That should be like roughly 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, here's the thing. This gets really potentially complicated because, and this is why release plans are so important, because we don't know which specs are going to release, and therefore we don't know what the dependencies are, and therefore we don't know what the lead times are. Right. So remember, if config revs, then and you have dependent specs, we tended to kind of have this dependency and release things in phases. So we really haven't had this discussion yet. Go ahead, David.
I just want to clarify that so that we don't lose track of the discussions we've had on this topic before, that if we if we serialize them in phases, then we're looking at, like a 6-week release cycle. And so the only way we can avoid that is if we put them up in parallel, which means we have to get really good at doing parallel. So
yes.
I would say that we should prioritize trying to do parallel to the best of our ability, and if all the specs go up fairly close to the same.
Well,
So
this is
actually, I'm not sure if.
Sorry, your video froze for me, David. I didn't mean to cut you off. I thought we're done.
I don't know which one whose video froze. Was it mine or?
Rudy.
Oh, okay. So I'm not sure if this is the right time to talk about it, but for MicroProfile 4.0, we actually created a tool that is allowing us to reuse staging repositories for other staging repositories. So it's not actually a 6-week cycle. As soon as you have config stage, any MicroProfile spec that depends on config next can be staged also like in 1 hour. Or
Yeah, that's what I mean by parallel.
Yeah, so we can already do that. We have a tool for that. This is already integrated into MicroProfile release job.
Yeah, I'm aware.
We did MicroProfile 4.0.
It's the 2-week voting periods. If we do those in serial, then we are looking, or in phases, then we're looking at, a pretty significant overall.
So, even with like parallel, because you still need to get like a stage, like a config first, and before you can stage others. So it's I think it's kind of, if it's we aim for like 2 weeks to get all the ballot. So I think the ballot sometimes have to stagger within a day or something like that. So
Sure.
it's 2 weeks. I think
Might be 3. Yeah, it'll probably be minimum 3 weeks in practice.
Yeah, Yeah, that's what I'm going
Yep.
to say as well. So I think the further thing we need to find out from the spec, which is spec plan to do the release, and then we can work out how big the release is.
Mhm.
Again,
Well,
and this lead into the conversation. Are we going to do the alignment with cut E9? If yes, and then that's pretty much all the spec. Perhaps need to do something with it.
So
Emily-
there's a whole line of dependencies. And so one of the things I want to get into is that we talked about a little bit last week is kind of building out a program plan and start action items and tracking and stuff like that. That is something for a little bit later. And I'd like to have that conversation first about how to track stuff and manage this meeting going forward. And then we can get into that. But yeah, there's a whole line of these dependencies. Like we can't do release plans until we know the answer to that question, right? So I'd like to get into that, but not quite yet, hopefully.
Dig right into the other stuff then, although I think that would be the best. So we have room.
Yeah.
I have a
let's
question
see. I'm
for
gonna say-
everyone here. What is stopping us from using this call or the next call to talk about the technical alliance? I know we are delaying this, maybe because of we have the calls for the alliance, but isn't that negative for the project itself? A few of us should have already have mentioned that there are the danger of adapting the EE9 release because we do not know the impact yet. And I wonder, and the question is for everyone, what is stopping us for using this call to actually discuss this? I think we have the planning for MicroProfile 2021 already in place and is gathering information. We will retweet it again today and move it, but what are we waiting for?
Well, we have to keep on track with getting our program plan finished. It's almost the end of January. So we've spent the first 16 minutes talking about everything but the program plan. And we had allocated a half an hour to the program plan. Now we have 14 minutes left.
Yeah, and I apologize. I meant to have that in the meeting agenda for today. So I apologize. It's actually in the spreadsheet, but I forgot to put it in the plan. One last thing, because it's going to impact where we put these kind of documents, right? I believe that we're moving everything under this external folder
Community,
here.
correct.
Yeah, this is the same one that you linked last week, Amelia, but it's the community subfolder.
Correct.
Or
Community is
if
the
it
one
ever
that is,
updates.
yeah, community is the one that is public view that only the steering committee can adjust, but it's public view because it's added into the new page under the website and we need it to be public. There is only one space that goes into invoicings and things like that that will be kept private because we have the budget public as well. So anyway, go ahead, John.
Okay, so it's the right spot. So what I'll be doing is I'll be moving, all the, MicroProfile, official documents and stuff to this directory structure. Okay, I just wanted to make sure that we're all kind of in sync, and the links in the meeting minutes, so everyone can go take a look.
And then since we went into the working groups, thanks, John. Can everyone here go into the thread that I forward and just say +1 so that the Eclipse EMO can make the community public view? Because we still have it under private, and we want to make sure that the adjustments are approved by everyone that has a seat, including non-seat MicroProfilers. We want to hear from you. We are all about transparency, and there is no private documents in this ecosystem, right? So please just play.
So you would put that in last week's meeting minutes.
Yes,
I think. Can you add that as an action item for everybody in this week's meeting minutes?
I will. I'm just saying.
You and I were discussing back and forth. I just wanted to make sure I understood the right spot because we literally did have 3 different folders.
Yes.
Okay.
And did you move the minutes to the drive, to the main drive?
Yeah, I tried this morning and I ran into permission issues. I'm working on it.
Okay.
I'll get it figured out.
Pull me in if issues.
Yeah, so one thing that I tend to do for the official documents is I create the official document under the MicroProfile Gmail ID. And then what I do is I then go in and I edit it as me so that, if anything ever happens, right, like I'm no longer part of the project, or, I get hit by a car or something, that these things aren't necessarily owned by me. So I try to do that. I don't know what people think about that. Does it matter if everyone has read-write access? I don't know. Whatever others think, but that's what I tend to do.
I mean, you can set the permissions up so
Mhm.
that specific people have read-write access, and it doesn't actually matter who owns it, right? So
Mhm.
as a matter of policy, anything infrastructure related that we've set up, we try to make sure that, like, everybody who was a founder of the project had had admin access, right? So
Right.
like we have our GitHub account, like github.com/microprofile, that has like 6 owners. So
Right.
you can't have multiple owners in Google Docs, but you can give the same people
Mhm.
Yeah, and that's what I've been doing, right?
read-write access. So
And John,
Okay.
this is a great question, but the thing is that I don't like to use my admin access for anything. I just use I add everyone else to edit, just because when I go into using the infra, that means that something needs to be changed, but I avoid it at all costs because it's infra.
Right.
So I
Okay.
go into the other side to say, no, let's use individual and then add everyone else, because infra means something is changing into the system, not adding stuff. But up to you. The problem is that I have seen you sometimes use actually the infra email to provide feedback,
Guilty.
not that John, the asshole
I
John.
forget to change back my
Exactly.
user
So
ID. Guilty
stop
as
doing
charged.
that. Stop doing
Okay.
it. Stop it completely, I would say. Just turn the other way.
All right. So it doesn't seem to really be too big a deal for folks. All right.
by the
So
way,
what I'd like.
you do have the option to create things as yourself and then transfer ownership. So you're never actually logged in as the other account.
Okay, that works if I'm never, if I leave the project, but it doesn't work if I get hit by a car.
No, what I'm saying is the second you create it,
Yeah.
you don't actually have
Okay.
to be logged in as that
Yep.
other account. You can just create it
All
as your account, hand it over. If you'd
Right.
like, if that's what you feel more comfortable with, right? That's
Okay. So it doesn't seem like there's a big, either way, as long as I don't edit it as MicroProfile. All right. So last week, what we did is discuss how to track action items, bring more formality to the call so that we can, have a list of action items, make sure that we track them as we bring them up during this call, and then check them off as they're completed, right? And so I just threw together, thanks Chandra for kind of providing a little bit of an outline. I did that. I made a couple of slight modifications. Don't worry too much about the contents right now. I just wanted to fill it out with some stuff and get feedback. But, basically the idea is, and again, I don't know if we want to categorize these. When what I mean by that is working group or marketing or whatever, right? But threw in some action items around the community voice document. You can kind of see some of these here. Who kind of leads it, right? It doesn't, there could be multiple names here, right? And so on, but it's kind of who wants to take ownership, one or more people, status of the thing, and then any comments from the community right around it. And then we just start, working on it and filling it out. Some of these are very broad. I don't know how detailed we want to make these. We could have a top level bullet followed by, sub bullets. I don't want to make it too complex. The idea is just to track things for this call and make sure that things are moving forward.
Yeah,
Comments?
and the more granular it is, the better. Bullets are not a good idea. So individual tasks, even if it takes more rows, is a better approach.
All right. Any other comments?
I think it's fine. You can also make other sheets if there's some of these things become pretty big. You know, you could,
yeah, that's actually an excellent point.
You
you can
tabs,
have,
right?
have a compatibility brand
Tab.
tab. That one's got a
Right.
little bit of meat to it because we need a logo. We need to get it trademarked.
Mhm.
And then we need, you know, to discuss, are we going to have a page? Or it's, you know, whatever, all that kind of garbage.
Yeah, or
Okay, and
link
this is
to Google Doc as well. So it's a kind of for spreadsheet, it's a kind of difficult to write a paragraph. So if we need more context, etc., we can create a Google Doc and put a link
Mhm.
to that Google Doc.
yeah, we could always create links to things that we need.
Yeah.
This is not intended just for the program plan, right?
Mhm.
These are just action. It's basically just throughout the year for us to kind of track things and don't lose track. Because sometimes we lose track of things.
Yeah.
I think.
Well, I would say that the compatibility brand is actually a carryover from constructing the working group. It won't need to be done every year. So we do need to clear that off at some point.
Well, no, this isn't. This isn't, like I said, for the program plan necessarily. This is just things that need to get done.
Period.
Period. And it'll roll off. I mean, I won't say it'll roll off, but you know, it'll get marked done when it's done. And next year we start with a clean sheet, or we carry over undone items into next year.
Is
That's
this
the idea, anyway.
is a this one is we also need to define compatibility logos as well, right?
Yeah, that would be for number 4.
All of it is under trademarks.
Yeah, that whole thing basically involves us making a logo that says your product is, you know, compatible / certified, and you know, you can use it once you pass the TCK. We obviously then need we have already a TCK, you know, certification process. Like you submit a certification request, they have to get approved, and then there's, you know, you can use the logo now if you're a member of the working group. You know, if you're not, you can just simply say you're compatible, but you just can't use the image. And we need the image trademarked. That will be something the Eclipse Foundation will have to do, and that will go, the cost for that will come out of our budget.
The legal cost, we're going to design,
Correct.
the community will design the designs and do all the work. Once
Right.
we're done, we submit it for trademarks.
Correct.
Yeah. So at the moment, like for compliance and etc., and we haven't established a process like how can you submit, and then it's what kind of meeting need to be scheduled to accept.
Mhm. We
Is
have to
what we
create
have
all the,
already.
Emily, we have to create all the process and then adjust it as we do things.
Yeah.
And I think this can be done by the June release. However, I was just thinking about the dates once John and everyone here was talking about June and the dates. And I think it's going to be problematic if we wait, because we have at middle of February to say we will complete the plan. Then we have March and April in May and June. So it's like 3 months. Is it enough for us to have a major release? Or we do
I don't want to
online?
talk about major releases because they're changing the topic from compatibility
The thing
logo.
is that can we do this? Can we have it prepared by that release? And is that what we're hoping to achieve? Because if it is, maybe we move that release to July so we can do something right without rushing. Or, you know.
I personally would never move the release for a logo.
Yeah, we can skip it. I'm fine with it, but are others fine with it?
And so, and how, if you want to be compatible with this current release, if you say the logos will only be for the next one?
Well, everybody can use the current MicroProfile logo, certified or not. And if you are certified, you can still use the logo. And we have so that's what I was trying to ask Emily. She said something about a meeting and I didn't quite hear it in her suggestion, and that Amelia jumped in and moved the conversation too far away from Emily's thought.
Oh, okay.
You had said something about when we have a compatible logo and sometimes to get certified, we would need some sort of meeting.
Oh, I see. I said we have not discussed the certification process in any of the meetings. Like we haven't we haven't decided what kind of process we are going to do. Like, how can I submit compliance request and then submit all the proof, and then it's kind of all sorts of the Jakarta EE kind of procedure. Like is a meeting set up to be like discussed to see whether the compliance is good enough or not.
Right. Yeah, I agree. We informally discussed it, and when we did our release, the certification requests that we got were all very, very different.
Yeah.
And so we probably do need to get them to be a little bit more the same, and
Yeah.
in line with the spirit, which is not here's a CI build, go dig around, but a user goes, I want the information handed to me in an easily digestible fashion.
Yeah, I think it's a kind of for the release is a kind of compatible kind of CCR, and also the when kind of runtime. For example, OpenLiberty is trying to certify against this. Again,
So here's the thing: is we're getting down into kind of how we want to do things here, and I think what this meeting probably should be is a status meeting and tracking the action items, and in between have the discussions.
You want to write that
just
down? You got a tab? Go ahead and put it in a line that we need to discuss the request format.
Creation date today.
I would put it on
added as an action item.
Yeah, I would just put it under compatibility or something like that, because you started a tab there.
Maybe yeah, compatibility logo.
Just remove
just compatibility.
Yeah, exactly. Remove the word logo and just put compatibility, and then we'll just put all the things that we need to resolve in there. So what is the request format? What is the certified logo? These are all things we need to do.
Yeah, but in a sense, we had already a request, because together with the specs, we always have not a reference, but a compatible implementation at the same time. So
correct. Yeah, we did it, but everyone's requests were all very different. So it's very clear.
Yeah, so
we didn't really give any guidance.
So that means we need just to have a common the common things about all of things. So we need to define some requirements still. Was it not good enough what we have done before?
Yeah.
No, a lot of people gave feedback, particularly Kevin and myself, that the compatible requests were lacking. So we do need to do the thing that you mentioned, which is write down the requirements better.
Right. So these are two different, slightly is related, but different. So it's for the previously when we did the MT4O release. So that's a kind of spec best spec. So basically that's on the voting, like a steering committee votes to release the spec. For the compatible compatible implementation, that's different. So we know, but no, not quite, because that's kind of you stage it, and then you kind of did the EMO and did the voting to be able to vote.
Okay, we're getting into details again.
Yeah,
and I really apologize, just because I really want us to kind of stick to what are the things that we need to, at least with this thing, I'd like to kind of get a list of AIs that are going to come out, for the program plan, right? So we have the community input, right? And maybe we can cover that in more detail next week. We've got the compatibility brand. This is too detailed for the program plan, but we, a goal of having a couple of releases this year. We know that we're going to need to define a budget. Well, that's going to be the result of a program plan. What other things do we think we need to have for the program plan? Is there any other required things? Did I miss anything? And Ed, Dimitri, and Rudy, and some of the other folks that are active in the Jakarta side. You know, there's probably some things that I'm like missing. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not really involved on the Jakarta side, so I cannot compare.
Okay.
Oh, for me, nothing else come to my mind. Maybe it will come later. Or...
Okay. All right. So,
Well, we have marketing, you know, so
yeah, I was,
you know,
here's
the typical program plan top hits are marketing, marketing activities, reaching out to the community, you know, community engagement, infrastructure, right? Infrastructure is always a big one. Do we have it? If we don't have any needs, that's fine, but we need to.
We do have needs for infrastructure in the marketing side, but that is added into the draft for marketing.
I'm not referring to marketing infrastructure. I'm just separate. These are separate topics. So we usually there's a slide that addresses our marketing goals. There's usually a slide that addresses our technical goals. There's usually a slide that addresses any infrastructure needs that we think we may have, right? We need, and it doesn't matter if we know what that is right now. That's what the plan is for, right? To decide what that might be. Community outreach is a typical one as well. I would say those are the real big four. And if we get them covered in a plan, it's a pretty good plan.
They are being covered in the plan, but let's see how much beef.
We haven't written the plan yet, so.
Yeah, we haven't, but I think it's going to be a really good start.
We do have those questions that we kind of took all off of the ones that we gave to the community, which were also around, John, you had I forget the exact way you've been phrasing it, but it's the, you know, the organization topic that you've.
Category?
What? Oh gosh. You know, you put together this very, very detailed growing pains document.
Right.
Right. So we need, you know, that's part of our plan to discuss it and, you know.
I'm going to put down review for now.
Yeah.
I'll go and put it out there. Sorry, when you were talking, I was looking for, I have a slide deck that basically outlined, I think, those top level items that you mentioned. And to be honest, I took a look at the Jakarta program plan and kind of caught the top things. And this is the only slide, right? And one thing I do think that we need to do, I think I even have it. It's this one right here. Grow the marketing committee membership. And I think in the spreadsheet I actually have that listed too.
Yeah, but
identify. Corporate work group member marketing committee members, right? And then meet on the every other weekends. Go ahead, Amelia.
We need to be careful when we call it marketing committee. It's just the contributors. It's not a committee, it's the contributors. And we just need to make sure that every member, not only in the steering committee, but in the community, know that the call is happening. We have not scheduled the 2021 calls that remind everyone what is happening, when to join. And we will do that very soon. Usually those ones start in February because we need to redesign everything we did for last year. That is already in a Git and we will have to go through it. But John, you are correct. We do need more involvement on those calls. It's always the same when we start a year, more involvement so that we can move a step forward. But it's not marketing committee, so let's not use that. It's heavy.
Okay. I'm just throwing down these things, right? So I want to begin filling this out. The question is, how do we want to manage this? Because if we have 30 people all kind of, just if it's like the live hangout, you know, this call, anyone can add anything to the agenda. I'd like to be a little bit more disciplined with this. I'm not even saying I have to be the person to kind of manage it, but I'd like to be a little bit more disciplined about it. So, you know, we either have, I don't know if it's a small group of editors or if we don't add anything unless this is more process heavy, but doing it through the Google group or whatever. I'm just trying to figure out how to make it more manageable and not have, you know, 50 items all with different levels of granularity. So we just manage it amongst ourselves. And maybe we only do it during this call, right? Since this call, I'd like to kind of turn it into a status call. Maybe we add, remove things to this call.
So do you mean we use the forum for unblocking? And we use this call to say, these are the feedback for this week or this month or whatever. Is that, John, what you're proposing? So that we can trace.
I'm just asking the question. I'm just concerned that if everyone just goes in and starts editing the doc, and we were talking about granularity earlier, right? And some people stick in some super high ones and some people stick in some detailed ones, start adding tabs along the bottom, and we have no consistency and things just pop up. We have no idea who did it. Well, and this is our official tracking document. Yeah. I just want to be a little bit sensitive to that.
Yep. I recommend we just start off a PowerPoint and fill it in to the best of our ability. You know, at least fill in a few slides, even if they're empty. Like I say, we know we need to do some infrastructure, so we could make a slide for that. And we know we need to do marketing, so we could make, you know, it could just simply be a blank slide: infrastructure goals, marketing goals, community outreach goals. And then we do our best to fill it in based upon the discussion we're having here. Those slides, you know, all those goals are actions of the future. Define this, investigate that, research this. So they're plans to plan in actuality. They're not necessarily in 100% the plan, you know, like nailed down, right? Mm-hmm. And you know, so if we get 2, 3, 4, 5 bullets on each of those slides, we have a decent plan.
So that's for the program plan. I agree with that. And we're kind of mixing and matching two things. There's a program plan.
Why, you know, because you were commenting that it's getting a little wild west. It's a lot harder to get wild west in a slide deck.
That's true.
But why not to just assign an owner of the document and allow others only to comment, and one owner just make changes?
We can do that, and we could divide each slide up and say who wants to own this.
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
And you know, if you need some more information from people, just assign it. So give me a slide about wherever, right?
Right, exactly.
And you get the slide, but only one person. Just, you know, add it to the spreadsheet, and comments are welcome. Easy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. With PowerPoint, we tend to be very restrictive in editing. And I think with John, that has worked great when we work on the proposal and life cycle. So we will do the same for that. However, in the Excel sheets, my concern is when we assign only one person, it's too heavy. So I could recommend we have 2 facilitators for most tasks.
Or more.
Or more, you know, like at least 2. What I don't want us to see is to delegate someone to be the it, and then for our community to get used to that person being responsible. It's unfair to that person, and unfair to the community. We need to make everyone feel responsible.
Okay.
It is okay for that one to be talking, but you see, it needs to be welcome.
We list owners. So if John, you want to make the slides like right now, and we can just identify the owners. So basically, like I say, it's marketing.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. You know, make a slide titled marketing goals, make a slide titled infrastructure goals.
Mm-hmm. They would have to be different documents, I recommend, because once
No, that's too fractured. Marketing goals, infrastructure goals. right? We got community outreach goals.
Chandra was like one of the best ones with the best ideas on that. I believe I
There we
will.
go. He could be,
Chandra was the best.
he could be one of the owners, right? Community outreach goals.
Come on.
Oh,
There we go.
look at that. Look at that. It's quite a, that looked like Gaelic.
Chandra, did you see that? I just threw you. I was like
There
volunteer.
you go. I have been volunteered.
Yep.
Yeah. Then of course we have technical goals, right? But that's one. You know, specification goals, I guess. You know, technical goals.
This we haven't even said this, but documentation is really important.
And then, well, hold on, I'm not finished yet. So we have technical goals.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. You know, so that may, you know, those are like, what do we want to do with the specifications technically? You know, we do have specification process goals, right? We want to improve certain things. I don't know, you know, if maybe that could go under technical goals, but it's kind of a process thing. You know, do we want to refine our specification process? Do we like our specification process? That kind of stuff. But the technical goals I was imagining really are like, do we have specific things that we want to get accomplished from a purely technical perspective, not how we get technical things accomplished, but the actual technical things. I think Dimitri did his best to call this out when we were talking about our, you know, the questions we were going to ask in communities. There are a lot of them were like, you know, marketing the tech, defining how the community talks about the tech, defining how we implement the specification process around the tech, but not the tech itself. So we probably do want something dedicated to the actual, you know, what are we going to deliver, right? Technically.
For the technical goals, so that link closer to the release plan, right?
Yeah, it would be like we're going to release 3 releases this year or 2 releases. We want at least one of them to be major, or, you know, what we're going to deliver, you know. We need to address the market's need for metrics. You know, that could be one of those things that we want to get done this year. You know, if we identify any gaps that we have technically, like there are specifications we should have, that's something. If there are specifications that aren't getting used and we want to deprecate them or something, that's something we did to talk about. But we should discuss what it is that we want to actually deliver, because all of the logos and all the processes and all the marketing really are only for the purposes of delivering something technically. So we absolutely should have a slide that is dedicated to that. Whether or not we can think of anything to put on it, now that's a telling statement.
Right. And then these technical goals are also kind of like a community, community, so that the doc we put out for feedback, maybe that
Right.
can link to here as well. So that drive this technical goal.
Right, yeah. So a lot of these slides actually line up with questions in our community outreach.
Mm-hmm.
We may want one about, you know, just purely our processes and how we organize ourselves. So that's kind of your growing pains comment there, John. So it's, you know, it's like in our how we get work done kind of a thing. We have our growing pains, we have our new specification process, we have our certification process. We have lots of processes. You know, what is do we like the processes that we have, and is that something we want to work on this year? Do we have specific targets and things we think that need to be improved?
That is aligned with documentation that I'm writing right now. for committers and new members. And it's a lot of considerations, and it's a part of the processes. What happens when you join, and what do we do for helping with contributing to the specs?
That's really a bootstrapping process is what you're talking about there.
All of it is important.
Joining the working group and getting your committers established. I think Ed had some questions around that. You know, so we want to discuss these things and make them clear.
Yes.
I think for the growing pains, this could go to the technical goals as well. So basically, it's how can we sort out this kind of standalone releases and etc.
Yep, it depends. You know, I mean, if it, in my mind, it goes in the technical slide. If it answers the question, what do we want to deliver? If the question is, how do we want to deliver it? Then it goes in this slide we're looking at right now.
Yeah, it was really an organizational thing, right? Where we're getting an awful lot of specs and we were setting too high a bar, you know, because we didn't have a MicroProfile profile, right? And the discussion kind of went from there, right? And trying to define kind of a core set of specs that were required for compatibility, right? Which gets into the compatibility discussion. So it could fit in multiple areas, potentially.
Depending on how we tackle it. So basically, the kind of what kind of the solution we are trying to use. If we say, okay, merge them all into one bucket, that will be a technical goal.
Yeah, or really, it's sort of, it could be more of a process goal, because if we decide to say that we're not adding or changing any specs from the MicroProfile community itself, but we're going to go through and label some of them as core and label some of them as extensions, the world hasn't actually gotten anything new. We've just changed how we're talking about the same thing. So from that regard, we didn't actually deliver new capabilities. We just sort of labeled things. That's really more of a process improvement. We didn't actually.
So before Chandra left, he did volunteer to help facilitate the outreach slide. And I think it's smart for us to work on the presentation and assign some facilitators, not owners, facilitators. I will volunteer myself for the marketing and the budget. My interest in the budget is I already have drafted 2 documents, and I'm extremely interested in keeping the budget transparent to the cent.
Well, that's great, but the budget gets drafted based upon
by everyone.
The plan.
Yes,
Right?
later.
So that
it comes later.
That comes kind of at the end.
Yes, comes at the end. So I'm just saying, let's add Chandra to the outreach, because he already said, yes, I want to help with that. And I can help with the marketing. And then in the budget, we all need to work on that. But let's keep it because it comes last. And I think in the title, John, let's add in the title, marketing goals. Would you say the person that is leading it, that is not confusing? Like facilitator, MicroProfiler, or whatever.
Edit where?
Here, when it says marketing goals, you do the parentheses, and then you say the name, just like, and then the name plus someone else.
Well, I wasn't gonna do it as a comment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have the sheets, we have the Excel sheets and the other documents, which is what I was thinking we will do. We will not touch it here. It will be directly in these documents. Here, yes.
Okay.
And definitely, sorry, go ahead.
If we like put it the title here and etc., and then people can volunteer, and then like I think for some areas like a technical discussion, maybe it's even quite a few, like 2 or 3 people work together, and because that involved a lot of conversation. Similarly, for other areas, I think is like a few people working together would be good.
The more the better. Always more brains facilitate and lower the bar to nonsense.
Yeah,
I call it.
So what I think we should do is we should get a few owners on each of these slides, and then in the coming weeks, they need to present some of their proposals to us, and we can decide which ones should go in the slide and which ones should not, or they could write them in the slide but still present it for discussion. And then we can just go, okay, we like this slide. It's good.
I think, I think I totally agree. It's looks good. I think it's to reduce the effort. Is can directly work on that slide and then present and go through. Basically, is in a meeting go through each area, and then for facilitate conversation and then refine the slide, and then like a few weeks, so we'll just we'll finalize the slide.
Yeah. And I think it should be implied that I mean, this is one of the things that we struggle with on the Jakarta side. Is we get a lot of stuff added to the plan, but they don't have owners on it, and so we're looking for owners in the middle of the year or the beginning of the year. And so, if these slides have owners on them from the beginning, I think that that's probably a really good improvement.
Yeah, Tatiana is not here today, but I will chat with her on the marketing side because I respect and love working with her for years. And she's someone that gets stuff done and is not afraid to work in the open, as you have seen. And she executes and she brings others beside her. So it will be a pleasure to ask her. I can WhatsApp her after this call and say, hey, do you want to do this? So immediately add her to the ownership so we can start bring some transparency to what we think, you know, based on the plan, right? Because she's not here, but
right.
she will be.
John, you can add
do me
the infrastructure goals ownership.
Actually, do me a favor. For those that are interested in these various slides, add it to the chat, just for the interest of time, because you guys are going to sit me, watch me, and type. After the fact, I'll go back. In the chat, volunteer for various slides, right? So there's strategic goals, marketing, infrastructure, community outreach, technical, and processes, right? So if we could get volunteers do that via the chat, what I'll do is afterwards I'll go and update the permissions. Everyone can view, everyone can comment, edit. The editors will be those people that are going to be doing the editing. The volunteers, and so what I'm again hoping to get to is a place where we don't. Well, we can go back and get status updates throughout the meeting with whatever items that we want. Need to be covered at the right granularity level. And maybe for the most important topics of the day, we can double click, like maybe something like this. But the only way this is going to work is if I think we're very active between calls. And I'm a little bit concerned that it's basically, it's myself and a few other people that are doing a lot of the talking on the call. And I want to make sure that it's not us, having been here a long time, consuming all the oxygen in the room when other people want to kind of step up during this particular call. I just don't want it to be, kind of the, the same people talking every call when other people want to, volunteer, but they maybe feel a little bit, they might be newer and don't have the background and might not want to step up. So I want to find ways to get other people involved and taking, if there's something interesting to them, and this is the way to do it, right, is with these action items, right? Community member leads, people that are interested, add your name, and then, you can give the status update, right? And you have a more direct voice in these calls. So I'm not trying to point anybody out in particular, because I know I tend to do most of the talking or a lot of the talking, and I probably shouldn't. But I want to make sure everyone that wants to kind of get involved and speak and have ownership and, contribute has a chance to do it.
John, that is a great call out. I think you and I do a lot of the talking, and is with this distribution, I think we can back off.
So, because I'm a little bit concerned that this meeting isn't of value. If it's just 3 or 4 people or 5 people talking every meeting, and then people are coming in, I'm worried that they don't feel there's value in the call, right? If it's just a few people talking about the things that they kind of want to talk about, and it tends to be the same, a bit broader people that go in and update the agenda of things that they want to talk about, right? It's a bit broader, but it's still not necessarily broad based, I'll say. So I just want to make sure that, again, we're not consuming all the oxygen in the room. All right. And feel free to contact me directly offline if people, want to provide feedback and don't feel comfortable with it here. jclingan@redhat.com. And, I can take feedback on ways to kind of get people more, people that want to be more engaged in not engaged, that's wrong, but have the time to participate in the call. So, all right. I appreciate it. We're at the top of the hour. Does anyone have any last minute comment that they want to make? Did I just do a Debbie Downer there? Is it like kind of bummed everyone out?
It was excellent.
No, that's a great point.
Okay. All right. Awesome. In that case, I'll end with a smile. Is my camera even on? I don't even know. All right.
Perfect.
So thanks everyone. And I'll see everyone next week. And I'm hoping we've, had a lot of thought put into the slides, maybe a few more items here filled out, and we'll just take it from there.
Mhm.
All right. Thanks everyone.
Awesome. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
See you.
Bye.
Buddy.
Bye.
Bye.